Welcome to Dignity Voices podcast. Real people telling real stories on how they overcame homelessness.
I'm Jonathan Orozco. I'm the development director here at The Source, and I'm here with Charlene Morris, our LMHC, MCAP, and QS, who has been doing an amazing job with our Dignity Wellness program. Before we kind of get started with all of the questions, can you let everyone know what those letters mean?
Oh, lots of letters, not that great, not that big. However, I'm a licensed mental health counselor. I'm certified at a master's level for a certified addiction professional. And I'm also a qualified supervisor for those who are in school and looking to complete their internships so that they can be licensed mental health counselors.
Why was it important to create this program and make mental health support part of the overall mission? Now, so many people know that, and can imagine that homelessness is a real struggle and that there are mental health issues involved with that. But what makes this program special?
Well, one of the things that we have to remember is that all people deserve to have dignity and compassion and a safe place to heal, because that's what ends up happening. A lot of people don't have a safe place to speak what's happening with them. And so it was important for us to be able to create that for those who come and use our facilities. One of the other things is that we have to understand that mental health care, it's not necessarily separate from our mission. I would say that, we're serving the unhoused and those with maybe some housing instability, but it's not separate from our mission from serving. It's central to it. It's one of the main things that we're doing. And so many people come in with the weight of trauma, loss, grief, and a myriad of diagnostic things that we deal with. And it's important for us to be able to create an environment for them so that they can settle down, feel non-judged, have an ear from someone to listen to them and support them through their difficulty. And, it's interesting because if it's not addressed, and this is one of the reasons why we, created Dignity Wellness, if it goes unaddressed, then the symptoms and the difficulties become worse. And the treatment is more difficult and maybe a little bit longer. Just like if you had a medical condition, and they always say, we caught it early. Same thing with mental health. It's about catching it early and learning that even though you may have some challenges or a crisis, that there's hope, there's healing, and there's help.
I didn't prepare a question on this, but I know you know the information of one thing that you brought in that was really important was it can't all depend on Charlene.
Correct.
It has to be that every single person is involved in this process. Yeah. And one of the first things you brought on was, with support from Impact 100, was the mental health first aid.
Right.
So can you talk a little bit about that and what that means and that it's not just, for homeless individuals. This is an everyday life thing.
Yeah. Mental health first aid is one of the best first early intervention tools that we have, and that also the National Council on Wellbeing created to do just that. Give access, free even in some instances, access to mental health training. Just like if you were getting training in first aid, you're not a doctor, and you simply put on a tourniquet or you use a credit card to take out a bee sting, but you're not a medical doctor. And same thing with mental health first aid. It is a training tool that educates you in such a way that you are able to have the confidence and the ability to just listen. To understand the signs and symptoms of someone going through a challenge or a crisis or even substance misuse. And the tool is, what they call it is called ALGAE. And what it means is that we assess the person and we learn how to approach them. And then we listen non-judgmentally, right? We give support. We give a reassurance. Facts without hope is nothing. You can give a person a whole lot of facts, but they need to have some hope that things will change.
Yeah.
And so mental health first aid is a wonderful tool. I recommend everyone to consider getting the training wherever you can find it. We offer it here at the Source to anyone out there in the community. And I would be more than happy to talk to someone about that. However, it is one of the best tools to learn about mental health in the sense of layman terms, and understanding the early signs and symptoms that you can be aware of with either workplace, family, or friends.
Yeah. And, we've had so many people who have gone through this training. And, we've had people, every one of our staff goes through this training, but we've also had community folks and church folks that believe in what we're doing and and believe in, the work that you're doing and wanted to be a part of that. And they've come back and said to me, I've used this in my personal life.
Exactly.
And, it's super powerful for people to just, I think, have that confidence more than anything else to be able to say, I want to address that.
Yeah. Because I'm sorry, but one of the things that's the feedback that I get is that I don't know how to approach someone. And that was the first thing in the tool or the action plan that mental health first aid gives you, is teaches you how to approach. Most of us, what do I say? How are you feeling? Well, I say this: don't ask that question if you don't have the time to listen. Right?
One thing that you mentioned to me, kind of when we were going through some of the logistics of this program, was the time it takes for someone to get into a program. Now, the program may be amazing, but if someone is having a mental health crisis today and it takes, how many days did you say it typically takes to get into a real program or with a counselor that can help?
It takes about 2 weeks to just get an intake. That's not even an appointment to actually talk about what's going on.
So
that's
to be
a lot when you're in a crisis.
That is a lot. And, to tell someone that they're going to have to wait 2 weeks and however long after that to then see that person and get into it.
Yeah.
And, maybe that person doesn't like the counselor they were paired with. And there's just so many things that go into that.
Yeah.
Whereas with this program, you understand the population that we're here with. And you build relationships with people throughout the whole time that they're there at the Source, rather than just when they're in the office with you.
Yeah.
And, that helps bridge a lot of those gaps.
Yes.
And, I think you said that you were able to see people within 48 hours of their need.
Yeah. If they're there. Because interesting enough, I'm available. Sometimes people come in and they're in a crisis in the day, but in the morning, sometimes you can sleep on it and things are not as bad in the morning. However, I try to be available for people, even if it's just by phone call. Whereas some of the other organizations, they have a different level of maybe paperwork or strategies that they have to go through, be able to talk with someone. I'm just having a conversation. We haven't necessarily come into a therapeutic relationship yet. Until you sign some papers, we're not in a therapeutic relationship.
So how does improving someone's mental health impact other areas of their life, like housing stability, employment, or relationships?
Well, that has a ripple effect. It touches every aspect of your life. And so just as much as the signs and symptoms you're looking for a person who's having an issue, you want to look for the opposite is what happens. When someone is getting assistance, help, support, care, compassion, concern, all those words, there's a shift in the person's life. And once they begin, say, for instance, just simply self-worth or self-esteem. Once someone's self-esteem shifts, well, they have a little more confidence to go ahead and apply for that job, whereas before they wouldn't. So take, for instance, socially. Well, maybe they, stopped socializing because people knew that they were homeless and their housing was unstable, their job was unstable, and they talked about them a lot, and they made them feel shameful. Well, guess what? Now that you are understanding that it takes steps to restore what was lost, well, now you can stand up a little bit and you can stand up and say, well, yes, that did happen. We always want to take responsibility for what happened. Yes, that did happen, but it's not who I am. It's something that happened. And so all of the things that can change are the very things that were causing the problem. You now are enjoying life more. You're involved in activities. And so it can just transform your social life. Your relationships are better. You can think more clearly. You make better decisions. Just overall, like I said, it's a ripple effect. It touches every aspect of your life.
So can you share a story or example of how Dignity Wellness has helped a member or neighbor regain stability, confidence, or hope?
Wow. One, we have so many people's lives that have been transformed because, not just because of me, because we're a team of people who surround the person, but specifically for mental health, being able to have that place for them to come to and have those conversations about past traumas, the feelings of abandonment, the loss and the grief that they've gone through. Everyone has trauma at some level. And so I think when I think about one person, I would say it was a recent situation in the sense of this year. And this person came in with a significant other, and you could tell that the relationship was pretty dysfunctional. And what I mean by dysfunctional, there was emotional abuse, instability in housing. They came from another state, and there was a lot of fighting and fussing and yelling and jealousy and every other thing that you know that you don't want to see in a relationship. And as I began to talk to just one of them, and they also got into one of our programs, which settles a person down and gives them a responsibility, and therefore kind of starts to shift their feelings about themselves. And once we get into those deeper conversations about why the person is allowing this person to treat them that way, you start to open up different issues and problems and traumas that happen. And as a therapist, I spend my time helping you get through, get past, and get over those things. And lo and behold, what a transformative story. This person began to realize that this person was not healthy for them. And not to say that this always happens one way, because this was a male that was being abused emotionally, not a female this time. And they were doing it to each other. However, he had a different need, and we needed to figure out what that was in order for him to release it and fill it with something that was more healthy. And so, lo and behold, as we supported him, cared for him, spoke with him, supported him, he rose, he fell. It takes time. It's not an instant thing. And over time, he was able to get stable housing, full-time employment, and be able to move on with his life without this person, and recognize that that was not a healthy relationship and that he deserved to be in one. And so I really, when I think about him, my heart gets warm because he's still with us, in the sense of using, he uses our housing. And so I'm really thankful for that.
There's been so many people that I know have gone through and have been transformed from the work that we're doing, right? But one thing I think that sometimes gets missed is, how our programs get transformed and are impacted by, I think the word that you've used in the past is trauma-informed care.
Trauma-informed care, yes.
And understanding what that means and how, a program that we think might be really helpful for someone might not be what that person needs.
Right, yeah.
And, when you phrase things that way and you kind of look at the problem from the perspective of how can we support these people in their journey,
right?
Because it is their journey, not what where we want them to end up.
Exactly.
I see that transformation in our programs over the last couple of years has really impacted a lot of people. So, a final question for anyone that might be listening right now, who might be struggling silently. What would you want them to hear?
The first thing I want to tell you that the power in the sickness is in the secret. That not telling keeps you bound, chained, in bondage. And the only way to come out of it is to talk about it. You do not have to do this alone. I understand that it's painful, and you might even be feeling some shame. It doesn't matter how long it's been. You can take the step, take the time to talk with someone, even if it's just a friend, and start to begin to understand that you need to start. It's not the end, it's just the start. You need to know that healing is possible. Change is inevitable, but it takes that courage. This is not weakness because you're having an issue. I know sometimes we think about that we should be able to handle it. Well, we're human and we do have weaknesses, but it's important for you to know that weaknesses doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. It just simply means that there's time to get some help. And so it's time to talk with someone. It's time to reach out. We're here for you.
Awesome. So, Charlene, before we let everyone go, if anyone is interested in bringing mental health first aid to their church or to their group, what is the best way for them to reach out to you?
I think the best way to reach out to me is to contact me by telephone, 772-564-0202, extension 216. I'd be more than happy to talk with you about the different types of training available for mental health first aid.
Awesome. And if anyone is interested in supporting the work that Charlene and the rest of the team is doing, please reach out to and go to www.iamthesource.org or just give us a call and we'd be happy to talk with you and share everything that's going on. Thank you guys.